name's Christina and you're watching Proud Book Lion. And today I'm doing my wrap-up part extravaganza Booktubeathon, biannual bibliothon, Read-A-Thon frenzy. Because do you remember the video where I talked about how 10 books, that's a bit too many books for me to speak about in one video? Yeah, I remember that too. Today I'm coming at you with 13 books. Don't blame me, blame the Read-A-Thons. I suppose blame me too because I read 13 books since last we spoke. But whatever, I'll try to keep this short. I'm not sure how that will work because you probably know how I am with the word long. Like, my captions are long, my videos are usually long. But yeah, we have 13 books to go through, and the reason why I'm doing this right now is because I need to get this book to the library ASAP, or at least 6 out of them, and that's like half the books. So if I wait for a couple of days, I'll either get like sued by my library, or you'll have a video where I just speak and you only see my face and not the books, and that's really boring for you, probably. So yeah, let's get into this, and I'll try to be short so you'll probably not get a synopsis on the books. If you're interested, you'll have to make them a cover by or something. I don't know. If you're interested in a book, you can tell me down below and I'll give you the full synopsis. I'll try to be as short as possible, and I'll try to also quickly tell you why I read the book, because the Read-A-Thons did have reading challenges, and I did complete them all, or almost. You'll see if you watch this. Let's get into it. Before the Read-A-Thons started, I read Highly Logical Behavior by John Corey Whaley. Trigger warning for outings. It's about Solomon. He is a gay main character and he hasn't left his house for a couple of years. There's this girl Lisa, and she wants to get into her psychology program. That's the second best in the whole world, I think, or at least in the States. The second best psychology program, and she's planning on doing that by fixing Solomon. It does not end up as well as she has hoped. And yeah, that's about it. I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I actually loved Clark because I thought he was an important character, and I really liked that Lisa wasn't very likable. Weird things to like, I suppose, but that's it. After that, I read a Swedish book called Jag heter inte Miriam by Michael Axelsson. It's about a girl that has been living her life pretending to be Miriam Goldberg and pretending to live as a Jewish woman, but she is actually Roma, and she survived Auschwitz as Roma, but then when she arrived at Ravensbrück, she was forced to change dresses and put on one of the dead girl's dresses, which happened to be Miriam Goldberg's dress. So in this book we follow 85-year-old Miriam and her coming to terms with her past and her future. I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars, and I think it's really important to see representation when it comes to World War II, because a lot of people aren't aware that the Romas were killed off, and a lot of people are not aware that the Nazis did not only kill Jewish people, they killed Romas, disabled, homosexual, black, and political humans that they did not like. And Romas overall get very, very poorly often, and the representation is almost non-existent. Therefore, I really, really enjoyed this book. Because representation, and it was well, at least to my knowledge, it was well written a representation, but don't trust me on that. 4 or 5 stars, I think. Then I read Asking for It, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Trigger warning, sexual assault, rape, suicide, and suicide ideation. I was not prepared for all of that suicide ideation, but it was a really raw, authentic, and brutal read. It's not very fun to read, but that's kind of the point. It's about a girl that first has consensual sex and then she gets raped, and those pictures of the rape later get uploaded on the internet, and how she deals/not deals with the whole thing, and how the community and the people around her deal with it. It's a really raw and brutal read. And now we start with the biannual Read-A-Thon. So for that, for the first day, Sunday, the 23rd, I suppose, I read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, and I really enjoyed it. If you don't know about Gone Girl, it's about a husband that gets accused because his wife disappears, so they believe that he murdered her, but it's a whole big book and things are complicated and not as they seem. I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I read it in a day. I read it for the book to movie adaptation challenge, and I also read it because Gillian Flynn is a new author to me, and I really enjoyed this book. If you're interested in thrillers, especially psychological thrillers, you should pick it up. Then, during day 2 of biannual Read-A-Thon, I read Seafarers Kiss by Julia Ember, and this is about a mermaid and she falls in love with a human, and they are both girls, so I read it for the LGBTQIA+ book challenge, and I think it was a really good read, although trigger warning, kind of outing, and if you're infertile, it's not very kind to that. For the Booktubeathon, because this was Booktubeathon day 1, I read this book in a day, so yeah, I accomplished that. After that, the same day, I read Girl Detached by Manuela Salvi. Yes, I read 2 entire books in one day. I know, I'm amazed too. It's about kind of like the sex industry in a way, because this girl gets tricked into selling herself for love. And yeah, I read it for the cover buy because I saw this in my library and you just had to have it because the colors. For the Booktubeathon, and then for the biannual Read-A-Thon, this book was actually banned. So yeah, I accomplished those challenges with this book. After that, I read When Dimple Met Rishi by Tbh I'm. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce her last names correctly, and I did not have the time to check it up because I just came home from my summer work, so I'm sorry. But I really love this book. I read it for the Hype book from Booktubeathon challenge, and I read it for A Person Undercover, and for a Hype book for the Booktubeathon, and for the biannual Read-A-Thon I read it because it's a diverse book, since the main characters are both Indian, and diverse is Emma's favorite genre, at least when it came to these challenges. You could choose to read a diverse book, therefore I read this book. After that, I read A Flame in the Mist by Renee Ahdieh, which was the group book for the biannual Read-A-Thon. I read this during day 5 out of that, and day 4 out of the Booktubeathon. I read this for the Booktubeathon for a character that's not like you, because Mariko and I do not live similar lives at all. It was meh. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's about this girl, and her brother is a samurai, and I'm pretty sure that if she had been trained, she would be a samurai as well. And it's a political book that has some Mulan vibes, because she dresses up as a boy in order to survive after being assassinated. Then I read Scars by Cheryl Rainfield. I will not show the cover because it features self-harm, but I really enjoyed this book. I read it in a day, and I read the whole thing outside, which completed the Booktubeathon challenge. And for the biannual Read-A-Thon, I read it from a book recommendation that did not come from BookTube, because I have never seen this being spoken about on BookTube or by a booktuber or even on Book Twitter. I just kind of stumbled upon it. I think even on Goodreads, and I'm never on Goodreads, so I do not know how that happened, but I really enjoyed it. It's about a girl coming to terms with the memories of her sexual abuse that happened when she was younger, and of her figuring out who sexually abused her, and also falling in love with her girlfriend, which is really nice because I love when we get some both mental illness diversity, we get some trauma diversity, and we get some diversity when it comes to sexualities and identities, which we need. Big trigger warnings on self-harm, suicide, sexual assault, sexual abuse, and alcoholism, but yeah, I give it 4 or 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it. Next up, I read an Untamed State by Roxane Gay. I'm not really sure why I read this. It was just kind of there, and I was interested in it. and I read it in a day, and it was really great. It's about a woman that gets kidnapped and she gets held captive, and there she is abused both sexually and mentally and physically, and it's awful. Takes place on Haiti. It features the kidnapping and what happens afterwards, so big trigger warnings on eating disorders, trauma, PTSD, and all the abuse that I mentioned earlier. It was a really rough, brutal, but I think important read, especially as it gave me a lot of new opinions and thoughts and information. After that, I read Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index by Yulee Israel. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. It's about Juniper and her coming to terms with how to live life after her big sister Camilla died in a car accident, and she left some things, and Juniper has to figure them out, and she has to figure out how to be happy again. It was a really sweet book, and it was the group book for the Read-A-Thon, which made me accomplish all of those challenges. I know what you're thinking, aren't you done yet? And no, I'm not done yet, because after that I read Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This was a 5 out of 5 stars read, like obviously a 5-star read. I read it in 2 days, but like practically a day. And I finished it like a half hour before the biannual Bibliothon ended. So it was my 9th book of the biannual Bibliothon, and I won't tell you what it's about because spoilers, but I'll tell you that you have to read it if you haven't yet. The pages. Lastly, I read Gina/Finn by Hannah Moskowitz and Kat Helgeson, and it's about 2 girls, 1 queer, finding themselves becoming friends online and later on meeting, and then there's a lot of shit that happens and things do not go as planned, and there's a lot of turmoil and mental illness rep that I wasn't anticipating. I was anticipating a light fangirl queer read, and it was a fangirl queer read, but it was a brutal, raw, authentic, very emotional, like I cried fangirl queer read. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Are you proud of me? Because I'm kind of proud of myself, and I'm tired now, and I think like the sun has gone down, and I'm not even sure that you're filming anymore because I might have run out of memory cards. Anyways, those were all the 13 books. I hope that you read some amazing books. If you have, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Your support means the world to me. Have a great day /night /whatever part is for you guys. Bye!